Welcome back, everybody. Hope you guys had a good holiday season, good Christmas time with family. I know I had a decent hiatus, from the first video to now, so I do apologize for the wait. Just wanted to come back and give you guys a little bit more to talk about. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about underground rap. I am a musician and I'm also an underground rap fan. So I think that I have a little bit of a understanding about where the scene is kind of at and how it has changed a lot, And so I kind of just wanted to, jump into that a little bit and go over that. So I think the first thing that I kind of have seen change is that the kind of definition of underground rap has shifted quite a bit. It used to mean kind of like no label, not having a bunch of money backing you and not having a lot of exposure, whereas now I think underground rap is a lot more based on like the aesthetic and the sound and how the people carry themselves. And it also kind of represents a business position for a lot of these artists as far as them being in a position to be considered an underground rapper, and also just the fact that like a lot of these rappers are still considered underground even when they're pulling millions of streams, millions of monthly listeners. People like Shay or SD Kid, people still consider SD Kid an underground rapper, and he has 15 million monthly listeners. And I think that's something that changed a lot over the last, couple of years or, last decade, I guess. I think in 2016, which, it's crazy that that's 10 years ago now, it was a lot different, being an underground rapper was a lot different, and being considered underground meant a very different thing, And I think that's all, because of the internet, how much the internet has advanced, especially with TikTok and the amount of people that are on Discord now, and kind of just how easy it is to get your music onto all platforms. Getting on Spotify and Apple Music is a lot easier than it used to be, and that's something that made a big difference for a lot of people. And also just like the scenes, it's kind of like there used to be a very obvious sound from certain cities, and like you could tell where somebody's from and they're in that scene, whereas now it's like everybody's everywhere. You can be from anywhere and blow up from TikTok or from Instagram, stuff like that, and it's kind of just super oversaturated now. And it's we have 10 times more platforms to try and get seen on, but it's harder to get seen, even though there's 10 times more places to be seen. And that's another thing, I feel like it's not about the music as much as it is about the aesthetic, or how you look, or how you carry yourself, or the kind of media that you post along with your music, versus how it used to be more about the music, more about the vibe, more about the music, less about how you look and how you carry yourself and how mysterious you are. Because I feel like the mysterious thing is a huge thing now. And like, I'll throw up a couple pictures of kind of the underground aesthetic that people have been, kind of using to try and become this mysterious figure that people want to be like, and also like the dark fonts and the like the crazy cover arts and all that kind of stuff that people are doing. Another thing I've noticed is the insane fashion that people are running. They have like these insane outfits and making these crazy poses, and it's I don't know, it seems like it's more about the identity than the actual music now. It's more important to the fans to some extent, and people try to act like authenticity is the new flex, the thing, but it's like people are faking being authentic, faking where they're from, faking that they're independent, lying about being signed to a label or a management deal or a publishing deal, when they're backed by a lot of money, and they're trying to act like they're not, or act like they came from a place where they had a lot of struggle, and in reality they didn't, and using it to drive their career up when it's not true. And I feel like in that sense we're in kind of the DIY era, where you're doing everything yourself is the new thing, even though a lot of these artists that claim to be doing everything themselves are actually backed by labels and backed by a lot of money. And that's another thing that I think that a lot of these labels are kind of exploiting artists by, backing them with this money and still having them do a lot of the stuff themselves, like kind of having them portray themselves as self-made and portraying themselves as doing everything themselves, and then the labels collecting off of that, instead of supporting them how I think they should in a deal like that, which I think is just kind of exploitive on the side of the label. So I don't know if everybody else feels the same way about that. Maybe having more freedom while still being in a deal is something that would be attractive to a lot of people. It's kind of one of those things where I don't really know how it works. I'm not signed. I've never been part of a record deal or seen kind of how that works. So it's kind of something that's foreign to me. But from the outside looking in, it does seem kind of exploitative to me, where they're collecting a lot of money off of these artists that are doing a lot of the stuff themselves. Moving forward from, kind of the money side and the aesthetic side and all of that, going back to the actual music, I feel like we're lacking evolution, or kind of the sound is evolving in a way that's kind of just revolving. It's a cycle, and we're recycling trends over and over again, and the music is getting more and more extreme. I think, for first person that comes to mind for me is Che, with his music being very extreme now versus before. When he first came up, it was a lot calmer than it was. I mean, he definitely did still have like a lot of rage or kind of extreme beats that he was getting on, but now it's just like the way that he gets on the song is insane. Like, it's insane. And the aesthetic, he used to be a pretty normal looking person, now he looks also insane to me. And I think that's kind of shows a lot of the evolution of the sound and kind of how that follows with the fashion also. I just think it's insane the way that music is moving, and I think that at some point it has to reach a tipping point where we kind of go back down to something that's more minimalistic, but it definitely hasn't gotten there yet, but we will see how long it takes. I think that it'll definitely get there at some point. But yeah, I mean, the sound is insane. The community is weird, like the community around music is just, the scenes are not very defined. There's micro scenes around niche areas of music and stuff like that, but it's just kind of scattered. It's not really like, people don't have super defined communities anymore, which is odd to me in comparison to how diehard some of the fans are for these artists. You'd think that the scenes would be a little bit more defined, but they're really not. And just the fact that money and clout and how what people are doing music for is so much more open now. It's like, people, yeah, I do this music for money. The only reason I do this is for money or for the fame. It's not about the music as much. There's a lot more people that are getting into music just because of the possibility of them being famous and getting a bunch of money off of it and being able to monetize their themselves. And I saw that a couple of days ago, or actually probably yesterday, Autumn, I would say he's mainstream now, but he was very, very prominent in the underground a couple of years ago, was inviting people to a course where he'd teach you how to make money with music. And I'm just like, that's kind of, I feel like that should be more secondary to the music, the money should be secondary to the music. But obviously it's kind of shifted the other way around. The listeners have more of the power now than ever before. Before the what the artist wanted to make was what the artist made, and now it's more about what people want to hear. I feel like the listeners have a lot bigger of a role in what is coming out and stuff like that, and it's more about getting clicks and views and making this a trend and making this viral than actually enjoying the music, which I think is kind of damaging to the identity of a lot of the people that make music nowadays. And of course, blowing up is the goal. Everyone wants to be successful with their music, but that's just not the reality for everybody. And I think being proud of what music you make and what you put out, first of all, is, I'd say that should be more important than making money. At least starting out. Once you're successful, then of course you have to follow the money and kind of do what's best for your career. But I don't really see it going that direction right now. People kind of starting out the opposite way around, starting where they should be ending. Underground rap was always like just neat to me. Like I always liked listening to that music because it's different, it's new, and that's kind of why I liked it in the beginning. And what it was to me was underground rap was just new rap, the newest stuff, what people are doing that maybe isn't popular yet, but might be later on, or just finding things that not everyone's listening to. And also just like the smaller community is being able to talk to the artists that are making music that you like, instead of it being someone that's like impossible to meet or talk to or collaborate with and stuff like that. And so it's just like a community, and that's what it did mean to me. I feel like it's not like that anymore. not as much anymore. I'm on Discord a lot with, a lot of people in those communities, and I feel like that area is still somewhat, tight knit and still has a lot of collaboration going on. And I think that side of it gives me kind of, some hope for the future of it kind of reverting back to what it used to be. But it's kind of disappointing seeing how the social media side of things is with music. There's definitely still good stuff coming out. I think that the way that people carry themselves on social media is kind of killing the scene. I'm not, I don't have much of hope for that side of it. I'm not sure if underground rap is dying or if it's growing to somewhere that we haven't seen yet, and maybe that will make a big difference later on, or it will kind of drive the interest in it down, but only time will tell. Thanks for joining me today, and I will talk to you guys soon. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. If you guys are fans of anything after that, I would love to hear what you guys think.